J. Cole has sparked heated controversies among hip-hop fans following the release of his latest single, Port Antonio, where he addressed his role in one of the biggest rap beefs ever, the Battle of the Big Three. The song has drawn praise and scathing criticism from fans far and wide for its overall mixed message. Many quickly reminded him that not long ago he dipped his feet into the war with the release of 7 Minute Drill, a full-on diss track aimed at Kendrick Lamar. While many feel for J. Cole and commend him for advocating for peace, others are criticizing him for being hypocritical on Port Antonio, like he was a saint in the whole situation. Since this feud started, we just got brand new inside information from trusted sources about J. Cole's state of mind. The latest update sheds some light on the theory that J. Cole is all over the place at the moment and is grasping at straws while trying to take charge of his career. Now, before we get into it, y'all should know that this new update is not about Cole's personal life. As we all know, he keeps that part free from any kind of drama, which is quite impressive in its own right. It turns out there have been some internal strife going on between J. Cole and his label Dreamville. Several sources familiar with the matter claim that every public decision and move Cole has made since this feud broke out has not always been of his own accord. It seemed like the label has been pushing Cole to do things he normally wouldn't do, especially around the Kendrick situation. The rumor is that Cole has been pushing back a lot lately, and it has effectively caused serious tension between him and the label. I'm sure many of you are in doubt about the legitimacy of this latest update about the rift in Cole's camp, but you should know that this news was first reported by a very close associate of Dreamville, popularly known as Wayno. For those who don't know who Wayno is, he has been a respected journalist in the hip-hop scene for several years now. But the most interesting thing about Wayno is that he was the host of Dreamville Fest 2024, which means he was well placed to know everything going on behind the scenes within the Dreamville team at the time the beef was just heating up. To put more context to this, Wayno was well embedded with the label around the time J. Cole dropped Might Delete Later and 7 Minute Drill, due to being contracted to host the label's popularly acclaimed festival. When you think about it, you'll realize Wayno doesn't have any incentive to lie about all he revealed. Wayno corroborated the rumors we've been hearing that the Dreamville team's consensus is that Kendrick Lamar comes third in any comparison that involves Drake and J. Cole. The team allegedly claimed that Kendrick hasn't done as much for hip-hop culture when compared to these two, and his impact has been slightly inflated by the media. Wayno alleged that the high level of animosity the Dreamville team had for Kendrick and his top dog's label influenced them to pressure J. Cole to respond with a diss track of his own. They believed Kendrick needed to be put back in his place after he claimed to be the best to ever do it. These interesting revelations by Wayno effectively mean J. Cole never really wanted to be involved in this beef, but he couldn't push back to constant pressure from his label bosses, who wanted him to be a part of the highly publicized drama and a piece of that pie that comes with it. To put this in full context, we need to rewind a bit. If y'all remember, the moment J. Cole rendered his apology to Kendrick during his set at Dreamville Festival, you'll notice the speech wasn't pre-planned, at least not with his label. Cole also said some things during his speech at the time that are much clearer now. He mentioned that everyone around him would be frustrated and upset with the apology he was about to render. It's clearer now that Dreamville's crew was not on the same page with J. Cole when he decided to step back from the feud, as they were the ones who escalated the situation and put him in the tight spot in the first place. Now y'all can see that the report of a disconnect between Cole and his team could never be more real. Not just that, this also shines the light on the heated tensions between the label's leadership and its members, which is probably why J. Cole and the rest of the artists on the label have had a chaotic year so far. The high-profile beef between Kendrick and Drake is probably the reason Dreamville's team situation has flown under the radar. Well, not anymore. Another interesting thing that proved that there might be a full-on civil war within the label didn't happen until later. JID, a Dreamville signee who is widely considered the current number 2 and a future number 1 of the label, commented under Wayno's social media post about the label's current situation. JID immediately clarified he wasn't the one who dissed Kendrick in the first place, but his response to the claims that the label members pressured Cole to beef with Kendrick was the most interesting part. He flat out denied his label, saying, quote, "I don't even hang with Dreamville like that." The funniest part of it all is how he almost immediately deleted everything he posted, but fortunately, several people already captured his tweets for reference purposes. The way JID responded showed he never wanted any issues with Kendrick, which is probably why he tried to distance himself from the set of Dreamville's crew who were scheming behind the scenes against him. JID's stance shouldn't really be a surprise because it's obvious he draws artistic inspiration from Kendrick Lamar. His rap style is heavily influenced by Kendrick, and he paid homage to the rap legend on his album, acknowledging how important Kendrick has been to his development as a rapper. In the grand scheme of things, it's safe to say things are not great with Dreamville's hierarchy. If one of their biggest artists could deny being involved with them all because he wanted to distance himself from the drama, we can assume the level of toxicity within the label must be high at the moment. Even though JID eventually deleted all the posts to try and prevent them from going viral, the cat is out of the bag already. These few tweets from JID helped us connect all the dots about the internal strife going on in Dreamville, while also revealing that there might be much more going on that is yet to be unraveled. If the two biggest artists on a label are feeling frustrated, it kind of validates the rumors of them being the chief instigators of the beef. Despite gaining so much popularity after being featured on several top-tier hip-hop songs, JID hasn't released any solo music since 2022, even though he is signed to Dreamville. He has teased a new project several times, yet nothing has happened so far except for independent releases on YouTube. Maybe JID wasn't denying his scant involvement with his label after all, because it's looking like he has been blackballed and his career left to stagnate. There seems to be a seismic shift in the culture at Dreamville, which probably explains why artists like EarthGang left the label to become independent. It seems like the label that once prided itself on having artists who are real students of hip-hop is alienating them from the group one by one now. This fall from grace has been happening right in front of our eyes, we just didn't notice it. Dreamville used to be one of the best collab projects in the hip-hop space, but they have seen a steep decline in the performance of their recent projects. This is probably why they were putting all the pressure on J. Cole to be involved in this beef, because they needed the publicity to stay relevant, not caring about the consequences for the artists they were using as bait. When you connect JID's comment to the revelation from Wayno, it's quite obvious that a faction of the Dreamville team hates Kendrick and his crew, and wanted to stick one at them through J. Cole. While we don't have all the information about what is going on in Dreamville at this point, it's still very clear that the label is in chaos right now. With EarthGang leaving the label and the second biggest signee no longer associating himself with the team, it's safe to say there's a fire burning on the mountain. When we add all this up with Wayno's claims that the majority of the label members heavily despise Kendrick, it's clear as day that there has been a huge culture shift within Dreamville and they seem to have lost their way. This perfectly explains why J. Cole has been all over the place and so confusing with his decision making ever since this beef started. The biggest highlight of this confusion by Cole was when he decided to respond to Kendrick calling him out, only for him to take it all back. A lot of fans were initially surprised he wanted to get in a beef with Kendrick in the first place because it seemed out of character for J. Cole. He has never been perceived to be the type that loves being in the spotlight for negative reasons. Now we understand that Cole acting out of character could be because of the forces behind him pulling the strings, because they wanted the attention the chaos would have given them and the benefits that came with it. The J. Cole we know is one of the most cool-headed and kind-hearted artists in hip-hop and the whole music industry as a whole. This 2024 version of J. Cole is a clear contrast to our general perception of him. It isn't wrong to assume that every decision made that has resulted in scathing criticism for J. Cole this year has been because of his label. A lot of people might find this assumption ridiculous because they don't understand how powerful label owners can be. Just so you know, the powers that be in a record label are incredibly powerful, and they heavily influence the artists signed to them. This isn't the first time label owners have pulled an artist's strings behind the scenes, and it won't be the last either. Dr. Dre's experience with his initial record labels is a perfect example of how label heads hold all the power and how they can steer an artist's career in the wrong direction. Major labels only care about the profit and not the artist making the profit. If we connect all these pieces laid out in front of us, it seems like the same is happening with J. Cole and Dreamville, coupled with the fact that all their major signees are leaving the label. It seems like J. Cole has found himself at a crossroads where he needs to make one of the biggest decisions about the next steps for his already incredibly successful career. If JID and EarthGang could leave the sinking ship, why can't he do the same? J. Cole is undoubtedly one of the few rappers who built a successful hip-hop career without being involved in feuds with other artists. He is proof that you can be successful without getting into a violent war with your fellow artists, and you can be just as revered and relevant without losing yourself. With all this said, what's your thought about these tensions brewing within Dreamville's team? Do you feel J. Cole should forge his own path at this point, or do you think the rumors about a shift in the label's culture are baseless? Share your thoughts in the comment section below, as I can't wait to dissect this latest update about J. Cole and Dreamville together with all of you. If you haven't seen the analysis of the new song by J. Cole and how it makes the situation between Drake and Kendrick more complicated, you need to check out the suggested video. You should like and subscribe to the channel too, so you don't miss out on subsequent updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.